Recently, a valuable BitChute comment led me to question whether I had expressed myself as well as I thought I had in my Healing Addendum 2 video about fear. The commenter raised the issue of the Polarity Principle. I did not intend the video to be about that. Essentially, it was about the relationship between love and fear, and how to work with an understanding of that in one's healing practice. In my preamble to the heart of the issue, I mentioned the fact that there is a simplistic idea in the realm of spiritual information to the effect that love and fear are opposites, in spite of the fact that I never agreed with that idea in the video, and actually stated that love and fear are not opposites. The commenter seems to have got the wrong end of the stick and concluded that I was advocating the idea. Having reviewed what I said, I can see that I didn't make it entirely clear what my current understanding of the Polarity Principle is. It is important to me to express myself as clearly as I can, because I see the information I am attempting to convey as very important. Also, it now seems timely to express my understanding of the Polarity Principle, because getting clear about it is necessary for a proper understanding of how the universe works. So, what is the Polarity Principle, and what light does epiphysics shed on it? I don't know if what we now call the Polarity Principle originated from the Tao Te Ching. Probably not. But the first two verses are an excellent statement of it. In addition, the first verse is essentially a statement of Gödel's incompleteness theorems. When we understand that, it can help to clarify our comprehension of the Polarity Principle significantly. So let's look at what the Tao Te Ching has to say. I will use Stephen Mitchell's translation because I think it is a good one. I will leave a link in the description to a YouTube rendition of the audiobook. The first 12 lines of the first verse go as follows. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness, darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. The 10,000 things is a metaphor that expresses the proliferation of ideas about life/Tao that happens when we start to use limited words to describe it. The second verse goes into more detail about the consequences of that effect. The first 9 lines are relevant. They read thusly: when people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the master acts without doing anything, and teaches without saying anything. Let me further translate what these verses are saying, Life is the creative source of the universe and everything in it. It has infinite depths, and thus it is eternal, and our exploration of it goes on forever. This is a consequence of Gödel's incompleteness theorems. See my video Fate, Free Will and the Truth for an in-depth exploration of that. Life is also the space of consciousness within which the 10,000 things exist. That spaciousness is the mother of all things. It is darkness within darkness, because of the way life uses the cycle of its evolution to unfold our experience. Gödel's incompleteness theorems prove that there are an infinity of life axioms to explore, truths founded upon deeper, not yet known truths ad infinitum. Thus, the spaciousness which generates new knowledge is darkness because we have not yet chosen to know it, and knowing emerges from it as we choose to see new truths. When we try to capture features of life with finite words, we create the illusion of opposites: beautiful and ugly, good and bad, existence and non-existence, difficult and easy, long and short, high and low, before and after, etc., etc. One might call these apparent opposites polarities. They make it seem as if the universe is composed of opposites which require each other's existence. Yet within the principle of polarities is contained the understanding that polarities are an illusion. Underlying each pair of polarities is a single unifying principle. It is like a stick, one end of which is black and the other white, and along the length of the stick is a gradient of greys. Wherever one looks on the stick, light and dark is relative. The grey is darker towards the black end and lighter towards the white end, and the only thing that is real is the central principle. There is no getting the right end of this metaphorical stick. The normal perspective on the polarity principle contains that understanding. However, in my opinion, even that is grasping the wrong end of the stick because of a thing called general semantics. General semantics is another subject which might be considered to be an expression of the first verse of the Tao Te Ching. It is based upon the realization that people often talk at cross purposes because everyone has their own unique understanding of what a word means. In a book I read decades ago, the example was used of an argument that arose amongst a group of people about a squirrel and a tree. They had observed the squirrel clinging to the trunk of the tree and climbing around it. Some said the squirrel was moving around the tree, and others insisted that the tree was actually moving around the squirrel. The point was that the whole argument was a manifestation of the people's differing internal definitions of what the word around means. General semantics can have a profound effect upon our understanding of the universe and, crucially, our ability to share knowledge. The BitChute comment is an excellent example of that. The commenter correctly asserted that love and fear are not opposites, but instead insisted hate is the opposite of love and courage the opposite of fear. An argument could be made against both of those assertions. With respect to love and hate, Masaru Emoto's rice experiment represents excellent contradictory evidence. In the rice experiment, 3 jars of rice were involved. One jar was spoken to lovingly every day. Another jar was spoken to hatefully. And the third jar was a control that was ignored. What was found consistently was that the jar that was spoken to lovingly matured into a pleasant golden ferment, and the jar spoken to hatefully turned mouldy. What astonished Masaru, however, was that the control jar turned far more mouldy than the hated jar. From this, Masaru concluded that hate is a distorted form of love, because it at least gives some attention to its object, and that the real opposite of love is indifference. This is consistent with my use of Arthur Janow's definition of love, i.e., love is giving others what they need to be themselves. However, the point I want to make is that even though I see Janow's definition as an excellent attempt to sum up the reality of the concept love, it still fails to capture the infinite essence that is even more fundamental. Similarly, I can find flaws in the idea that courage is the opposite of fear. If it were, then one might expect to find that as courage increased, fear diminished, and yet courage is not required if fear is absent. Rather, true courage is necessary only when there is a lot of fear. Also, we have to be aware that what is normally thought of as courage is not always wise. As I pointed out in Healing Addendum 2, when fear is absent, apparent courage can become very unintelligent. Thirdly, I could easily make a case that courage is a manifestation of love. Both love and courage are actually manifestations of the fire element. It is just that the fire of fire essence of the solar center and Leo fire of water are more obviously loving, whilst Sagittarian fire of air and Aries fire of earth are more apparently the courage to seek truth and the courage to assert one's self-determination. None of these conceptions of the infinite essence of fire are exactly equivalent, however. Ultimately, the idea of polar opposites comes back to yin and yang, because all other infinite essences, like fire, earth, air, and water, are sub-expressions of yin and yang. Yet the truth is that yin and yang are not opposites. As I have stated in other videos, they are reciprocal perspectives on the same thing, i.e. the infinite one life. It is important to grasp that fact, and that all apparent opposites are only manifestations of the fact that our journey of exploration is about realizing deeper and deeper levels of infinite truth. That is all for now. Thank you for your attention.